have a green light on. We'll see if y'all can hear me. Okay, I just love, if y'all have ears to hear a lot of information through the Psalms, and that I'm gonna start off with out of 2 Kings. This is how I fight my battles. I'm surrounded. 2 Kings 6:8, starting at 8. Once when the king of Syria was warring against Israel, he took counsel with his servants, saying, "At such and such a place shall be my camp." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, "Beware that you do not pass by this place, for the Syrians are going down there." And the king of Israel sent to the place about which the man of God told him. Thus he used to warn him, so that he saved himself there more than once or twice. And the mind of the king of Syria was greatly troubled because of this thing. And he called his servants and he said to them, "Will you not show me who of us is for the king of Israel?" And one of his servants said, "None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet who is of Israel. He tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in the private place, in your bedroom." And he said, Go and see where he is, that I may sin and seize him. And then he told him, "Behold, he is in Dothan." And so he sent horses and chariots and a great army, and they came down by night, and they surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God arose early in the morning, he went out, and behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" And he said, "Don't be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed, and struck him with blindness. And anyway, more are those that surround us than those enemies that we have in the flesh. Okay, when Mike asked me to bring this word, whenever I got this, I prayed about several different things, but I got this word, I was asked like in 2013 to share at Women Aglow, and then again at Seminole at a women's meeting. And so this is the message for them, but I think it's a good message for us now. And I didn't know that whenever I got this message in September of 2013, that in February of 2014, mine and Joe's lives would take a different turn. And so this message was what carried me. I preached this to myself many, many, many times during those 3 years. But the origin of this message, I was standing here in this church, and we were circled up to pray, and there was a gal that was used to be in our congregation, and as I was looking at her, I could see on her face, it's too much. It's too much. My kids, my job, my situation, it's too much. And the Lord, I distinctly heard the Lord tell me, "You go tell her, I am more than enough." And so, life is hard. It's just straight up hard. You get a doctor's report. I remember one day the doctor came in and told us that Joe and I that we had lost our little girl is dead. You don't expect your son to live. Your husband comes home drunk, or he just doesn't come home. The IRS levies your paycheck. Your business is seized for back taxes. Creditors are breathing down your neck. Terrorists are striking our nation. The son is in jail or in prison. You bury your grandbaby on 9/11. You watch as your loved one takes his last breath and steps from this life into the arms of Jesus, or any other number of other things that life brings to us. Every day, it's too much. But Jesus said, "In this world, you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world." And sometimes it's not just the problem of too much. Sometimes it's the problem of not enough. There's not enough time, there's not enough attention, I don't get enough attention, I don't have enough strength, I don't have enough energy, I'm too tired all the time. But by His grace and incredible strength, we not only make it through, but we can make it through victoriously. And all through the Word, all through this Word, you see time and time and time again about overwhelming odds. Things that should turn upside down, that they're impossible. There's no way that it's possible. These are the places that God delights in. He shows off. He likes to show off whenever our strength is gone, when we have no ability in ourselves, when we're surrounded by foes on all sides. That's whenever He likes to show off. In Isaiah 43:2, and I don't know, yeah, okay. Oh, that's the second King. In Isaiah 43:2, when, not if, but when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. And when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. And then in Numbers 13, 27 through 33, this is real heavy with scripture, y'all. Because, I mean, that's my words, my testimony, that's kind of cool, but this is really what makes a difference. This gives an account of the spies, whenever they went into the promised land. Moses sent them over to spy out the land before they went and took possession of that land. And so they gave an account to Moses. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. And here's its fruit. It was gigantic, huge fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are walled and fortified, and they're very large. And we saw the descendants of Anak there, and the Amalekites that live in the Negev, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites live in the hill country, the Canaanites live near the sea along the Jordan. Lots of ites. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses, and he said, we should go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly do it. Because those people in the land, they feared the Israelites. They feared them. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack these people because they are stronger than we are. And they spread out among the Israelites a bad report. Oh, do we do that? Oh, we do that. We do that. When our eyes have seen this and we don't know what it is that's going around, we speculated that this is probably the reason of this thing and that thing and something else, and we spread that negative report. They said the land that we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are huge. They were bigger than Joe Kelley. We saw the Nephilim there. They're the descendants of Anak that come from the Nephilim. They were giants. And we seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we look like that to them. Now, I'm not sure when this started in my own life. It's kind of something I struggled with on and off. But for a long time, I had this feeling of being less than and small. And I know some of y'all find that hard to believe, but I really do, because it's like whenever I was helping Melissa with her books, I told her, I said, if you ever run across somebody that can take you to the next level, by all means do that, because I can get you this far. This is as much as I know. And so I feel like I didn't know quite enough about to get her stuff published, or I just felt not quite as good, or not quite as, well, just a little less than. And so I was feeling pretty small. And that was a plot of the enemy, but I just didn't seem to be able to shake that. Anyway, in June, I went with a friend to the worship center up in Lubbock. Isaac played here a couple of weeks ago, and he's a worship leader there. And on Wednesday night, first Wednesday night of the month, they have Encounter, a prophetic night of worship. And so I went in, and these ladies prayed over me, and they prophesied over me. And so I've read this word several times. But one of the things when Susan and I were on the way up there, I told her, I said, I just don't want to do anything. And I've been that way for a while. I do it, but I don't want to. I don't want to go to church. But I get up, I get dressed, and I show up. And occasionally, I circle the parking lot, and I come in for a while, and I would leave. I would make an effort. But I was just numb. There was just nothing. I would want to go on a trip until it was time to go on a trip, and I didn't want to leave home. I didn't want to do anything. I just did not want to do anything. And so I had told Susan, I said, even this trip, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. So when I got into the room for them to pray for me, there were 4 women in there, and they had their backs to me, so they couldn't see my face. They didn't have a clue how old I was, All they said, the lady who brought me into the meeting said, female, married. That was it. They know color, nothing. Widowed, divorced, nothing. And so, as they prayed, they said, Lord, you know what it took for her to get here, that she just put one foot in front of the other to get here. And so they had my attention, and I'm not going to read you this entire prophecy, but this kind of links back and forth with what I'm going to tell you here. But one of the things, the first one, as she prophesied over me, she said 4 times, don't be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Don't be grieved, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And then another one said, you see yourself as small. And she said, you see yourself like an ant. And, she was talking about how that they, they're part of a complex society or organization, and they work better in community and group. And that if an ant were human, or a human was an ant, the comparable strength would be like me carrying a Hyundai. Okay? She said you carried a lot of weight for a long time. And but she said, the joy of the Lord is your strength. So I'm kind of like getting the clue that the joy of the Lord is my strength. Well, then she also had another, one of the other ladies that spoke over me. She said, I saw a balloon rising into the sky. It was like a balloon made out of light. And I don't even know how to explain this, but it was caught in an attic or an upper room. And then she talked about it a little bit more, and then she said, then she saw the attic opening up and the balloon. And she said, I hear the words balloons rise above all. Okay, so this is actually going to link. It doesn't just right this second, but it's actually going to link. Joshua, I'm going to go back to Joshua and Caleb. In Joshua 14, 10 through 12, now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses while Israel moved about the wilderness. So, here I am today, 85 years old, 10 years younger. How about that? And I'm still as strong today as the day that Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now, give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard that the Anakites were there and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord is helping me, and I will drive them out just as he said. My God is more than enough. Not on his own, but through God. And then with the praise, Jehoshaphat in 2 Chronicles 20:1 through 28, this will all come together. After this, the Moabites and the Ammonites, there's more of those ites again. And these are those Midianites? Midianites? The Medianites. Okay, I was just playing with that. Anyway, come to wage war against Jehoshaphat. I had to practice that for a little bit. Anyway, and so people came and they told Jehoshaphat, there's another big army. What's your army? Stolen vehicle? What's your army? A trip with 20 women? Into that territory? Okay, so a vast army is coming against you from Edom, from the other side. Actually, that's not a bad, that is a definite, we're the force to be reckoned with going to Ohio. That is a great, great time. From the other side of the Dead Sea. It's already, and Hazazon, Tamar. Oh well. Anyway, alarmed, Jehoshaphat resolved to inquire of the Lord. And he proclaimed a fast for all of Judah. And the people of Judah came together to seek help from the Lord. Indeed, they came up from every town in Judah to seek him. Then Jehoshaphat stood up in the assembly of Judah and Jerusalem at the temple of the Lord in front of the new courtyard and said, Lord, the God of our ancestors, the same ones that ran to take the land. Are you not the God who is in heaven? You rule over all the kingdoms of the nations. Power and might are in your hand, and no one can withstand you. Our God, did you not drive out the inhabitants of this land before the people of Israel and give it forever to the descendants of Abraham your friend? They have lived in it and have built in it a sanctuary for your name, saying, if calamity comes upon us, whether the sword of judgment or plague or famine, when it's too much or not enough, we will stand in your presence before this temple that bears your name, and will cry out in our distress, and you will hear us, and you will save us. But now, here are the men from Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, whose territory you would not allow Israel to invade when they came from Egypt. So they turned away from them and did not destroy them. See how they're repaying us? Yeah. We didn't attack them. We let them live. We wiped out everybody else, but we let these guys live. And now what they're doing to us? See how they're repaying us by coming to drive us out of our possession you gave us as an inheritance? Our God, we do not judge them, for we have no power to face this vast army that is attacking us. We have no power, don't have enough power to face this enemy that's attacking me. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. But sometimes our battle, Mike was talking about the lady with the pan. Sometimes that battle is against a demonic power. And sometimes the battle that we are facing are seeds that we've sown, and we're reaping what we've sown in our past. And sometimes it's just our old stinking flesh. And we really need to discern what is demonic and what's our stinking flesh. Some of it's just the pride of life. And sometimes we're warring against God. And I remember when we were struggling with our shop and trying to keep it afloat and trying to keep from going, the IRS seizing it. It's amazing to me because $60,000 of IRS debt, we were paying attention to that, and they were garnishing paychecks and all that kind of stuff, and we got shut down for $1,100 of property tax. And it was a huge blessing. We fought that battle, we prayed, we marched around that shop, we circled that thing, we called the walls down, we fasted, we celebrated, we flew flags, we stood on our head, we tried everything, every formula that you could think of to try to keep that business afloat. And yet whenever it closed, it was such a huge blessing because it opened the door for us to work at the prison, which was a huge blessing, which provided retirement and insurance. And whenever Joe's medical bills were well over $1 million, and out of our pocket for medical those 3 years was less than $1,000. Yeah. So sometimes we might even be warring against God when God's trying to open up a different way, and we think we're much smarter. Jackie, did you say that? Yeah. We think we're smarter. We want to tell him how to do this. So then all the men of Judah with their wives and children and little ones stood before the Lord. And then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jehaziel. Oh, I'm not going to tell you all who he was kin to. Joe would have loved that, but we don't need to know all that. He was a descendant of Asaph, who was a psalmist. As he stood in the assembly, and he said, "Listen, King Jehoshaphat, and all who live in Judah and Jerusalem. This is what the Lord says to you. Do not be afraid." Oh, how many times he tells us, don't be afraid. Fear not. Don't be discouraged because of this vast army. That's so hard when you're looking at all of those enemies. For the battle is not yours, but it is God's. Tomorrow march down against them. They will be climbing up by the pass of Ziz, and you will find them at the end of the gorge of the desert, in the desert, Jeruel. You will not have to fight this battle. You will not have to fight this battle. Take up your position. Melissa, stand. Stand. Y'all remember, surrender, let it go. Trust, ain't nothing but delight. Stand. Take up your position. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will give you. Judah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid. He tells them again, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Go out and face them tomorrow, and the Lord will be with you. And so many times as we face our battles, as we face our enemies, exactly what the music team was telling us, we do it with praise. This is how we fight our battles. This is how we fight our battles. Jehoshaphat bowed down his face to the ground, and all the people of Judah and Jerusalem fell down and worshipped before the Lord. Some of the Levites from the Kohathites, which were also praisers, stood up and praised the Lord, the God of Israel, with a very loud voice. Early in the morning, they left for the desert of Tekoa. And as they set out, Jehoshaphat stood and he said, "Listen to me, Judah and people of Jerusalem, have faith in the Lord your God, and you will be upheld. Have faith in his prophets, and you will be successful. And after consulting the people, Jehoshaphat appointed men to sing to the Lord and to praise him in the splendor of his holiness. And they went out at the head of the army. And you know this story. I mean, yeah, praise team, you go out. You face the battle. You face the swords and the shields and the spears and the arrows. You go out first. Josh, bring your guitar. You're on the front line. Okay? You're Philip, bring y'all's guitar. You're on the front line. Give thanks to the Lord, for his love endures forever. And as they began to sing and praise, the Lord set ambushes against the men of Ammon and Moab and Seir. And they were defeated. And the Ammonites, the Moabites, rose up against the men from Mount Seir to destroy and annihilate them. Annihilate them. Right off the face of the earth. After they finished slaughtering the men from Seir, they helped to destroy each other. Yeah. They just turned around and said, oh, that was so much fun. Like, why don't I just kill my... You had my back a while ago, but not now. And so they just started killing each other. When the men of Judah came to the place that overlooks the desert, looked toward the vast army, they saw only dead bodies laying on the ground. They never had to lift a hand. Never had to lift. This is how I fight in my battles. They did lift their hand this away in praise. No one had escaped. And so, this is so good. He is more than enough. And so Jehoshaphat and his men went to carry off the plunder, and they found among them a great amount of equipment and clothing and articles of value, more than they could take away. There was so much plunder, it took 3 days to collect it. When our enemy is put to flight and annihilated, people, look for the plunder. Look for because it's there. It's there. On the 4th day they assembled in the valley, and there they praised the Lord. And then, led by Jehoshaphat, all the men of Judah and Jerusalem returned joyfully to Jerusalem, for the Lord had given them cause to rejoice over their enemies. Sometimes we need to rejoice over the enemies before he's taken down. We need to do that praising and rejoicing before. That is a God that is more than enough. Being thankful and praising him in the middle of you're too much and you're not enough, it can turn your situation around. Now, on April the 14th, this is before my prophecy, April the 14th, I had a situation of kind of too much and not sure what to do with it. But some of you saw it on Facebook and maybe some of you didn't. But anyway, I was working on my taxes. Nothing like waiting until the deadline, right? Anyway, I had 2 days, I think. And heard this explosion. What was that? And Josh had just gone outside and he came back in and was like, Mom, what's that? I thought somebody left their car outside of my house. So it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. Crash, it was horrible. I had an 8-foot long shelf full of beautiful vintage Fiesta ware that was all shattered on the floor. Every piece shattered. And I see you say, oh, this was the collection that Joe and I had put together every time we would go on a trip, we'd try to find an antique shop and go find us a new piece maybe we didn't have. Or maybe you already have 6 pieces of that, but I might need it again, you know. You just can't have too much beautiful vintage Fiesta ware. And my parents, they were antique dealers. Actually, they bought junk and sold antiques, so they would give us, now see me and Jackie, I figured this out, Jackie, I was telling us the other day, you know, me and Jackie, we buy junk and sell antiques. No. We buy junk and sell junk. Anyway, yeah, it's good junk, and you can never have too much junk, ever. That's it. So all of this Fiesta was just laying on, and I'm just like, huh. And there was no feeling. There were no tears. There were no like, oh, my beautiful dishes, all these memories. It was just like, Josh, get a broom and get a box and help me carry this. And we just took everything out to the dumpster and we dumped it in the dumpster. It's a brand new, clean dumpster. Not clean, brand new, clean. They just emptied it. Let me just put it that way. There was nothing else in the dumpster. And so we just dumped all of those plates in there. So then my Facebook feed started blowing up about, oh, can't wait to see what you're going to make with that. It's going to be so creative and so beautiful. And mosaic this and paint that and blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, come on, Josh. Can I get with you? Give me that piece and that piece and that piece and that piece. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, and this is going to connect it here in a little bit too. So anyway, but one of the most significant things that happened is that Dorothy sent me a message and she said, I think that the Lord really wants to speak to you through your broken plates. And so you just really need to press in and lean into him and see what he wants to say. And of course, just typical stuff like too much weight for too long, too much stress for too long is just going to cause everything to shatter. And so I will tell you that my broken pieces of potential art is still under the chair in the living room, having done nothing with that yet. But anyway, I did lean in, and I didn't really hear anything till a couple of weeks ago. And that's another story. So let's go back to the scripture. Paul and Silas, because praising him in the middle of your too much. Praise him in the middle of your too much. And give in the middle of your too much. About midnight, Acts 16, yeah, love this. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. And suddenly, there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaking. So y'all think that was God tapping his foot? Maybe, yeah. Made those prison doors come open, and all at once, all the prison doors flew open. Everyone's chains came loose. The jailer woke up. When he saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword because he was going to kill himself because he thought the prisoners were going to escape. He said, oh, no. Paul said, no, don't harm yourself. We're here. We're not going anyplace. We're right here. Don't worry about that. And so he called for the lights, and he rushed in, and he fell down trembling before them. And then he brought them out, and he says, what must I do to be saved? When you are in the middle of your prison, in your dark place, when your enemies have beat you and told you, do not talk about Jesus. I told you, don't talk about Jesus no more. Flog you and throw you in prison. And they're praising. We don't know suffering people. We don't know suffering. We think we do. We might have a past due bill or a house is getting foreclosed on or a business is getting shut down, but we don't really know suffering. And we avoid it at all costs. And he said, what must I do to be saved? He saw what they had. Do people see what you have and want what you have? They replied, believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household. And when they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all the others, he brought them home. He brought those prisoners home with him. At that hour of the night, he took them and he washed their wounds, and immediately he and all of his household were baptized. The jailer brought him into his house, set a meal before him. He was filled with joy because he had come to believe in God in his whole house. They were praising in the middle of what we would consider to be too much. So while I was preparing this, not in 2013, but a couple of days ago, I know this sounds really generic, but I really think it's very specific. And so if this is for you, I want you to receive this. This is what I heard him say. There are some of you that are barely holding on. And you are thinking, it's too much. And how much longer can I do this? And will this ever end? I mean, if that's for you, we want me to encourage you with 2 Corinthians 1:8. And I have pulled this up from the Message. I don't study from the Message, but every once in a while, the Message just kind of brings it home. And this is Paul talking to the Corinthians, and he said, we don't want you in the dark, friends, about how hard it was when all of this came down on us when we were in Asia. It was so bad, we didn't think we were going to make it. We felt like that we had been sent to death row, that it was all over for us. As it turned out, It was the best thing that could have happened. Sometimes your worst thing, your too much, is the best thing that could happen to you. Instead of trusting in our own strength and our own wits to get out of it, we were forced to trust God totally. Not a bad idea, since He's a God who raises the dead. Yeah, it's a pretty good idea. He's a lot smart. He's smarter than we are. That's how probably how He got to be God. He did it. He rescued us from certain doom, and He'll do it again. He did rescue us. He'll do it again. He's rescuing us as many times as we need rescuing. You and your prayers are part of the rescue operation. So many times, Michael's talking about this. This is what carries us. This is what holds us. You know, warts and all. Warts and all. I mean, it's like a family. And, some families are really kind of, I keep asking, Lord, it would be nice for normal, just much of normal. And somebody told me the other day, well, maybe this is your normal life. But I'll take it, because even in that, there's so much love. So, all through the Scriptures, there's times when it's too much. When Gideon was facing the Midianites, and they were, as far as you could see, they were like locusts. You couldn't even see the end of all the Midianites. And he was less than. He was the least of the tribe of Manasseh. He was less. Yeah. But God was more than enough. And then Goliath. You got my picture of my windmill, Face Your Giant? Okay, so when I was working out at the prison, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, for the prison. I was driving to Rotan one day. I cannot even think for the life of me why I was working for the prison. I was driving, but I was on that back road, and the wind turbines hadn't been up for very long, and so I stopped to photograph because and it doesn't even do it justice. You all know how being out there. I saw that little wooden windmill, and so with my little dinky camera, I took that photograph. And as I drove away, the Lord told me to turn around and go back. Turn around and go back. And so I went back. You'll pull up the second one. And so sometimes our too much is a matter of perspective. Because those windmills are still the same size, but because of the perspective, that little windmill now is equal to, or if I got up closer to it, it was actually larger. I was afraid of getting on private property. I didn't want to get shot or something. Anyway, it was actually larger than those giant wind turbines. Because so sometimes in our not enough or too much situation, it's a matter of perspective. David with Goliath, Goliath wasn't nothing to David. He wasn't too much. It was too much for the armies of Israel, and they're taunting them for days and 40 days on. He just kept bragging on them, and David knew that his God was more than enough. So whether it's too much or not enough, our strength fails, provision is lacking, but our bucket is not only empty, but somebody stole my bucket. And we're at the bottom of the barrel. Everyone's left. Everybody's gone. God is more than enough. The wise men, when they came to bring stuff to Jesus, the baby Jesus, these kings, these wise men that came from across wherever, you think they brought a little box of gold to him? You think they brought him a little tiny box of gold? I don't think so. More than enough. More than enough. How about when there was not enough wine at the wedding feast? Jesus just replaced what little bit of wine they needed? No, 6 kegs. Seriously. 6, either 33 or 55 gallon. 42, whatever. They were cleansing things for them to cleanse with, but that's what he replaced it with. Fishes and loaves, too many people, not enough food. No big deal for my God. He wrecked every funeral he ever went to. His life, they couldn't stay dead. They couldn't help themselves. They had to get up because Jesus is not. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So a couple of weeks ago, bring this all back around, Mike asked me to paint, and he was going to preach on the joy of the Lord, and I'm like, so what does the joy of the Lord look like? If you're going to put paint to canvas, the joy of the Lord, So anyway, so I prayed about pretty good bit, and I had that recycled canvas from Pearling's last conference, and I thought, well, that's a good background, and that way it'll give me a little something to get started on. And I was towards the end of a 21-day fast that we were doing for the walk, and so, okay, well, I'll paint balloons. No, I don't want to paint balloons. I'll paint bubbles. That's what I'll do. I'll paint bubbles. Those are pretty happy and joyful. And anyway, so Sunday morning, as I was getting ready to come and paint the bubbles for the service and thinking about the joy of the Lord, well, I thought, let me listen to my prophecy from the worship center again. And so I just turned it on. It was recorded, and so I just turned it on. And as I was listening to it, she was talking about, one more time, she talked about, listen good this time. And she said, I saw a balloon rising into the sky. It was like a balloon made out of light. And I had not heard that word light before. I don't even know how to explain that. But it was like I saw everything turn into a balloon, and it was rising, but then I was taken into an attic, and the balloon was trapped in the peak of the attic. And something stirred in my spirit. I didn't feel bad in the attic. It's like it was a safe place. But something of significance has happened in an attic or an upper room of your life. Is that wrong? And now I had listened to this probably 6 or 8 times, but I had finally transposed it. And when I heard upper room, I was like, oh my gosh. Not just upper room, but the upper room. When we were Mesquite Country, Emmaus, before we were Closer Walk, we were governed by the upper room. And the upper room stepped in and took Joe from being my spiritual director the week before my late grandfather. And the upper room kept him from being Shelby's spiritual director. And the upper room did this, and the upper room did that, and the upper room put Joe in this place. And I had taken up that offense. I had just, I was so angry at what I felt like they had, steps that they had taken. It was destroying Joe because he wanted, that's the reason we left Trinity Methodist to come here, so that his ordination would be recognized by the room. But it didn't seem to work. But praise God, we're here. So yeah. So, what it looks like, it is what it is, but it's not what it seems. Okay? Anyway, so I began to forgive the upper room and the people, and God began to bring up people that I felt like had hurt Joe or wounded Joe, and I just began to just release that. So that's what I came into. Mike asked me, he said, "You want to talk about that?" I said, "It's too much to talk about." So because it was all kind of all together. Well, then Monday morning, Davina and I met right before the walk, and she's like, "You have to come up with a video for Thursday night and for chapel." And so we don't have a standard video that we show anymore. And so Tuesday morning, I just did a little Google search, and I just typed in short video about a relationship with Jesus, relationship with, and then this one video popped up. Do you have it? So I want y'all, this is only 4 minutes long. I want y'all to watch this. And I never made the connection about this until I went to see Melissa. Hold on just one second. I came to show it to Davina, and she wasn't here. I mean, I was undone. I was totally undone. The Monday had finished up the 21-day fast. I found this video. Davina wasn't here, and I was just like, I've got to tell somebody, so I wrote to Melissa, and she said, oh, like your show, a fiesta. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, now you can start it. Watch for the balloon.
You. Look at your eyes. Look at them. Speckled. Colorful. Each one unique. And I created every one of them. I created everything. The universe. And you. I gave you your personality. I made you pure, complex, and every day I give you life. I love you, but something happened. You cheated on me. You didn't trust me. You sinned. You cut yourself off from me. And although you're still alive, you were slowly dying. So you looked for other things. To fill the void. But nothing works. It just kills you faster. And it separates us more and more. What are you searching for? I don't want you to die. I created you not to be destroyed, but to know me. So I became one of you, a fragile creation. I was tempted, but I never sinned. I came to save you. You have so many sins. And they have a cost. Someone has to die. You or me. So I took on your sin and traded in my life for yours. And I died in your place. Because I love you. Then rose from the dead. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am Jesus. I'm not here to condemn you. I came to bring you back to life. Rely on me. I will forgive you and give you eternal life. I love you. And I did all of this to have a relationship with you. Will you follow me?
Taking all of our sin, past, present, and future. It's too much. The scourging, the torture of the cross, the devastating situation are too much. All of that blackness, all of that darkness. In John 10:10, it says that Satan comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. It's too much. Jesus says, I have come that you would have life and have it more abundantly. That means more than enough, excessive, overflowing, extraordinary, profuse, more than anything that I will ever make. He is more than enough. In the middle of your too much, He wants to be your more than enough.
Bow your heads with me. I'm going to ask Nathalie to pray over any of those who are here this morning and you've been in that place that she's